Okay, Alex, I have a question about mobile messaging as a strategy. We talk a lot at Vibes about how some of the components of a really good mobile messaging strategy are timeliness and relevancy. And I think relevancy makes sense to a lot of people, having the right data, making sure you're sending a relevant message to an audience. But we don't hear timeliness get mentioned an awful lot. Could you expand on what that means to you?
Yeah. So in messaging, one of the qualities of messaging that makes it unique is when someone gets a message, they read it. So they see it. It's not like email where they may receive something and they have time that they want to go check their inbox. When you send them an SMS message, they get it, they read it, and that matters. So when you think about that, when you send that message, if you know that message is going to be delivered in a matter of minutes, the content of that message is just key. So what is someone's, and I'll start kind of most basic of what time of day is it? If you want to send a message to someone at 11:30, how is that different than sending a message to someone at 6 p.m.? People have different mindsets, so you need to think about that. I think it goes back to your product and what you're trying to offer. Especially, we see this with our customers who are in QSR or restaurants. 11:30 a.m. is very different than 3 p.m. So when you think about, I'm making a choice of where I'm going to go eat, I'm making that choice at probably 11 a.m., 11:30. And if you hit me at 3 p.m., I've already made it, and I can't have lunch again, right? So, if you do send a message at that time, then maybe you're trying to get someone into your restaurant later when traffic is lower. So then the content just needs to be adjusted. I think it's really interesting to think about when to send a message and what mindset will someone be in. So if you're sending a message late at night, or not late at night, but say 7 p.m., 8 p.m., what is that mindset going to be like? It's actually, we've seen it actually is a good time to send a message to someone who may be shopping online. I would say, so there's time of day, right? And timeliness matters when you send something. And so timeliness is linked to the content that you're creating, and make sure that those two make sense together.
Yeah, that makes sense. And conversely, then sending a message too late has very negative consequences.
Yeah, and I think, and we see this with where you're sending a message, if you don't control that entire chain of how a message gets sent, you run the risk of your message gets delayed somewhere. That's why at Vibes, we have direct connectivity to the carriers, because it's so important that when we send a message, we want it to go out right away. You never want to be that company that is sending a message to someone at 1 in the morning, because that's just it's annoying and it's kind of a waste, right? And so that's really important. So when I talk to brands, I'm actually very surprised at how many don't know when that message was actually delivered, as opposed to we know we set it up in our campaign tool to go out at 3 p.m., but when was it actually delivered? When did it actually get to people? We've seen where some campaign tools don't even have that information, and you don't even know when that got out, and that's dangerous, and that's not a great customer experience if you're sending something too late.
All right, so you've talked about timeliness of messaging. There are different kinds of messages that require different sensitivities to timing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you think about messages like servicing messages, so your car is ready to be picked up, it's a shipping notification, it's any of those type of notifications, timing is critical on there as well, right? You never want to send a message before something's ready. You also don't want someone to come pick something up and then they get a message an hour later that says, "Hey, it's ready," right? That's not a good experience from a customer standpoint. So it's really important that when you send a message, it gets to the person exactly when you want it to get there, so that you're not experiencing that kind of waffling on either side of that actual transaction. I think it's really interesting that we've had customers who, in the shipping world, getting a shipping notification that a package is on your doorstep, that's really critical, especially when things get stolen from doorsteps, right? So we had one customer who actually, because they send shipping notifications, they were able to get insurance for when packages were stolen. And I think it was really interesting that the package theft went way down when they sent a message to the consumer saying your package has arrived. Because then I get it on my phone, not an email, because I'm not checking that right away, but I get it on my phone. First thing I do is I go check to see if it's there.
And even to go further than that, last year, particularly in the holiday season, we saw big examples where, because of the way the supply chain had gotten messed up, there were a lot of delays from the delivery, from when they were going to be shipped, backlog orders. So there's even more places where you need to be able to timely communicate to customers.
Yeah, and I think this year more than ever, with the supply chain issues going on right now, and the scary part is you don't know which supply chain issue is going to hit you, and the holidays is probably when it's going to hit. So if you have that direct link to the consumer, if something like that happens, you can actually communicate with them and make sure they understand and readjust expectations around if something's shipping late, if something's shipping in a different way. Having that communication, of like the ability to have that communication, is just so critical, especially this year.
And I think you're in, it's a really interesting area, because I think a lot of people think of servicing messaging as very automated triggering things, but there's a proactive element to these, especially with supply chain.
Well, hopefully it is automated and boring, right? But it's really when it's not that the value truly comes in, because when something changes in those regular delivery mechanisms or supply chain, the fact that you can communicate saves you so much in terms of headaches, in terms of angry customers. The ability to communicate directly to someone is just so important.